Something is stirring within you right now. Something subtle but unsettling. A quiet unease that doesn't seem to have a name. You wake up and reach for the same things that once lit you up, expecting the spark to return, but all you find is stillness. The music that once moved you now feels muted. The hobbies that once absorbed you sit untouched. The friends whose words once made sense suddenly sound foreign, as though they belong to a version of life you can no longer enter. You wonder if you've lost your way, if maybe a fog has settled over your mind and heart. You start to question yourself. Is this depression? Am I breaking down? But what if this dullness, this strange detachment from everything once dear, is not a symptom of decline, but the quiet beginning of transformation? What if this hollowness you feel isn't emptiness at all, but clearing? A deliberate, intelligent reordering of your inner world. You're not disintegrating. You're being prepared. What's leaving is not your vitality, but the outdated framework that once defined it. The version of you that thrived on certain pleasures, goals, and identities is stepping aside, not out of failure, but out of completion. You are not broken. You are being rewritten. Think of a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It dissolves entirely inside the cocoon. If you were to look at it mid-process, it would appear like it was dying, disintegrating into a formless soup. But that liquefaction isn't decay. It's redesign. That's you right now. Your psyche is melting down everything that cannot go with you to the next level. And because you've been taught to equate change with loss, this divine reconfiguration feels terrifying. But beneath that fear, something extraordinary is forming. An expanded self, waiting to emerge. Like a snake shedding its skin, this process starts with agitation. The snake rubs against rocks, grows restless, stops eating, and its vision blurs. To an onlooker, it might appear unwell. Yet what's really happening is renewal. The old skin has finished its purpose. It no longer stretches to contain what's growing beneath. In the same way, the restlessness you feel, the loss of appetite for what used to feed you, the fog that has replaced your usual clarity, these are all signals that your old self is preparing to peel away. You are in that sacred in-between, no longer who you were, not yet who you will be. The space between identities is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also holy. Your disinterest in old passions isn't random. It's precision. It's your soul reclaiming the energy it once invested in maintaining identities, routines, and attachments that no longer align with your frequency. The very things that once defined you, the friendships, ambitions, hobbies, are dimming not because they lost their value, but because they belong to a version of consciousness you've already outgrown. Most people panic in this stage. They scramble to resuscitate what's fading, forcing themselves into old conversations, forcing enthusiasm where there's only fatigue. They confuse movement with meaning, trying to drag the past forward, hoping it will reignite. But forcing yourself into what no longer fits is like trying to step back into a dream after waking up. The more you try, the more absurd it feels. Growth doesn't happen by reviving what's dying. It happens by allowing what's finished to finish. This loss of interest isn't a crisis. It's a cleansing. The soul empties before it fills. Imagine trying to pour water into a cup already full. Nothing new can enter until what's stale is poured out. That's the emptiness you feel right now. A cup being emptied to make space for a finer frequency. The universe isn't punishing you by taking away what you loved. It's preparing you for what your new vibration will attract. But here's where most people get confused. Our culture celebrates consistency as virtue. You're taught that sticking to your interests proves discipline, that losing excitement equals weakness, that questioning your goals means failure. So when this natural shedding begins, instead of trusting it, you panic. You start trying to reignite dying fires. You force conversations that drain you, cling to identities that limit you, and chase goals that no longer inspire you. And each attempt only exhausts you more, because you're trying to power a system your soul has already unplugged from. That's why you're tired. It's not laziness. It's friction. You're trying to animate an expired version of yourself. It's like running brand new, high-definition software on outdated hardware. Everything lags, crashes, and glitches. The system isn't malfunctioning. It's evolving. Your consciousness has expanded, and your external world hasn't yet caught up. Here's the irony. Every fulfilled person you admire, every grounded, luminous, purpose-driven being, has passed through this same void. They too faced mornings where nothing sparked, where everything familiar turned colorless. The difference is that they didn't mistake the void for failure. They saw it for what it truly is, the womb of rebirth. They understood that before new light floods in, the old wiring must go dark. When you stop forcing old joys to work, something incredible happens. You begin to hear faint whispers of new desire, not the loud societal shoulds that used to dictate your direction, but gentle, honest pulls toward what genuinely feels alive. You might feel drawn to completely new interests, a subject, an art form, a path that makes no logical sense. Don't dismiss it. Those small curiosities are your new coordinates, soul breadcrumbs leading you forward. But the key lies in discernment, knowing the difference between depression and transformation. Depression feels like stagnation, heavy, hopeless, cyclical. It tells you nothing matters, that the emptiness is permanent. Transformation feels weightless, though still raw. Beneath the discomfort, you can sense subtle movement, like wind shifting through the trees before a storm breaks. It whispers, something new is coming. Depression collapses time. Transformation expands it. One contracts your light, the other clears space for it. So look again at your current emptiness. Notice how certain things feel too loud now. Shallow conversations, performative friendships, recycled dramas. You crave solitude not because you hate people, but because silence now feels more nourishing than noise. You find yourself filtering energy instinctively, choosing depth over distraction, truth over comfort. You're not withdrawing, you're refining. You're tuning your internal frequency to a clearer signal. Imagine an old radio picking up static and chatter from every direction. That was your old life, full of overlapping frequencies, each one demanding your attention. Now, your receiver has evolved. It can only tune to what truly resonates. People who drain you aren't villains. They're just broadcasting on a wavelength that no longer matches yours. Hobbies that bore you aren't meaningless. They're simply calibrated to a consciousness you've surpassed. This isn't loss. It's filtration. Trust this withdrawal. It's intelligent design. Your being is recalibrating. Your preferences are rewriting themselves from a deeper code. This is what evolution feels like in human form. Confusing, quiet, sacred. You're being sculpted, cell by cell, thought by thought, into the person capable of carrying your next level of purpose. When you tell someone, I just don't feel like myself anymore, they might respond with practical advice. Rest, routine, therapy, distraction. And while those things have value, you already know this isn't a problem to be solved. It's a metamorphosis to be honored. You're not malfunctioning. You're molting. Like a hermit crab that's outgrown its shell. You've stepped out of what's safe but suffocating, and you haven't yet found the new home that fits. It's vulnerable, exposed, uncomfortable, but necessary. That's why everything feels surreal right now. Your old motivations feel foreign because the you who created them no longer exists. The goals that once defined you came from a different altitude of awareness. They were set by someone who needed validation, control, or certainty. But you've outgrown that need. This isn't regression, it's refinement. Think about how your taste evolves over time. The movie that once moved you to tears now feels simple. The song that once defined your heartbreak sounds almost naive. It's not that those things lost value. It's that your perception grew. You see more, feel more, require more truth. That's happening across every domain of your life now. Your entire perceptual palette is maturing. And it's happening fast. Faster than most people ever experience. Change usually creeps. For you, it's crashing. It's a full system reboot. The operating system of your identity is being reformatted. You're watching the progress bar crawl slowly across your consciousness, unsure what will load next. The waiting feels endless. But it's not punishment. It's integration. The code has to compile before it runs. So yes, you may feel suspended, detached from passion, uncertain of purpose, neither here nor there. But floating isn't the same as lost. The pause between identities is sacred. Think of it as the breath between heartbeats, the silence between musical movements. The gap is not emptiness, it's gestation. In this stillness, you may find yourself drawn toward simplicity, to nature, to quiet, to moments of presence that used to bore you. Don't resist. This new self communicates through subtlety, not noise. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't chase, it attracts. The old voice was loud, always pushing, proving, performing. The new voice is gentle, whispering from within, guiding you through resonance rather than logic. That's why your usual tools, pep talks, goals, vision boards, no longer work. They were built for the old engine, powered by willpower and striving. You're moving from motivation to inspiration, from force to flow. Motivation demands effort, inspiration generates energy. One pushes you toward the future, the other pulls you from the future that's already unfolding. You're learning to be led by alignment, not ambition. And yes, it can feel lonely. You might feel misunderstood, as if you're the only one going through this invisible unraveling. People around you may worry, misread your stillness as apathy, urge you to get back to normal. But there is no normal to return to. That self is gone. Asking you to return to who you were would be like asking a butterfly to crawl back into its cocoon. This is why you'll need new community. People who recognize that shedding isn't failure, it's sacred evolution. People who can hold your uncertainty without needing to fix it. People who see that losing interest in everything can be the first sign of awakening, not collapse. If those people haven't appeared yet, be patient. They arrive once you stop forcing yourself to maintain the connections that were built on the scaffolding of your old identity. The more space you make, the more resonance can find you. There is no timeline for this rebirth. Some move through it in months. For others, it unfolds over years. You can't rush divine timing. You can only cooperate with it. Your only task is to make conditions gentle enough for emergence. Rest when tired. Say no when it feels heavy. Choose silence over noise. Protect what's tender and true. This is not about doing. It's about allowing. Treat this season as sacred ground. When the mind asks, "What's wrong with me?" answer softly, "Something new is being born through me." When you feel empty, don't fill it with noise. Listen to it. When interest fades, don't chase stimulation. Honor the quiet. This is not punishment. It's preparation. Your old life is not collapsing to hurt you. It's clearing to reveal you. Every layer that falls away uncovers what's always been underneath. The authentic, unconditioned you that no longer needs to perform or prove. You're not constructing a new self. You're remembering the original one. The stillness is not absence. It's the unveiling of presence. So, if these words find you in the fog, let them remind you, you are not losing yourself. You are releasing what you never truly were. The emptiness is not an end, but a doorway. The silence is not rejection, but invitation. The person you are becoming has been waiting patiently behind the noise, waiting for this very moment, when everything false would finally fall away, and all that remains is truth. Trust this. Trust the emptiness. Trust the pause. What's meant for you is not gone. It's gathering strength, waiting for the space you're finally making. You are not falling apart. You're unfolding.